Saturday, June 20th, 2026 at about 6 o'clock in the morning. Is that right? It is 6:30 in the morning. And out here on my daily walk, get my steps in. And good time to do a video. And I do my video on relationships so that, men can have better relationships, better sex. Be with women that actually like them, that kind of stuff, and not this, beta male provider stuff and, money status crap. Nothing wrong with having money and getting girls, but she also needs to be aroused by you and want to have sex with you. So anyway, that's why I want to kind of teach men, because a lot of guys are lost. No one taught me. I was lost for a long time. So I took the bull by the horns, and I've dated a lot of women, made a lot of mistakes, and you can learn from my mistakes that I've made in my 50 years, and but also from the intense and passionate study I've done, to learn this stuff. So, and once you learn it, it's not easy. And I've been teaching it now, doing videos for like 2 months, and I was already ninja before, but I'm even more ninja now. It's so crazy when, like they say, when you teach something, you have to explain how whatever process works or whatever. You can't not know how to do something and teach it, and explain to people that don't know how to do it, right? So but anyway, and I've been using criminal cases to kind of do some after actions and just highlight some things that are some glaring mistakes that we make in relationships, and definitely deal makers that we end up if we don't know the information, those should be deal makers, or deal breakers, sorry. And but anyway, I want to talk today about the criminal case. It's going to be the Bree Cuhnn case. Bree Cuhnn was in the Navy, and she was married to Colin Hunter, and they had 2 kids. They had a nice house, nice little house, just a girl. They were in their like 30s, I think. And Colin Hunter was the 14-year Marine, Devil Dog, and both of them served in our military. Awesome, and that's so cool. And but they had a daughter that was 3 and a son that was 4, who were rambunctious. They were awesome little kids. It's just that stressful, and because of Colin's service in the military, he he had developed a traumatic brain injury. These guys go through hell sometimes to protect our freedoms, which is so honorable. So we thank them for it. Thank everybody, all the veterans out there, and all the people who served in the military. So he was right. For a time being, he was being a stay-at-home dad, and taking care of the kids, and Bree was working. Now I think that's like an issue, like that's kind of a problem, because you got to have, like, a lady doesn't like the stress, you know what I mean? They don't like the stress of working, paying the bills, stuff like that, men, see, we get rewarded for succeeding in life. We get rewarded for making more money to a certain degree. We get rewarded for having a higher status job. We get rewarded in the sexual marketplace, right? Women like guys that are make money. Women like guys that are successful. Women like guys that are competent. And it means something, right? Your urge to reproduce, or sex, air, water, food, sex, that urge is strong. And so a lot of times the reason women don't have that same drive to succeed in business and work, and that is, they don't have the same, reward structure, in their dating life, right? So anyway, that's one reason, right? But I say that because, if you're going to be a stay-at-home dad, it's not bad, but understand it's not because, we can't switch gender roles. It's because, number one, women would probably rather be at home, because that they do well in the home, and they don't like, to have to be so responsible for the family. I mean, it's stressful, and women are good at raising kids, and not that men aren't, but men operate in the work environment better, and and I think that was causing a problem in Bree and Colin's case, is because Colin had a traumatic brain injury, he wasn't able to work at the moment, but he was about to go. He had just completed college, and he was just about to enter the Johns Hopkins electrical engineering master's program. So, I mean, it wasn't like he was just sitting around doing nothing. He was a smart guy, you could tell. But but it doesn't mean you make mistakes in the dating game. I mean, he probably chose the wrong person in Bree. I don't know. He says she has borderline personality disorder, which, from what I understand, it's called a cluster B, and it's supposed to be like horrendous. Like, Amber Heard was borderline personality disorder. Those ladies are like crazy. So, and with what I saw a little bit of her. Yeah, I could see that, right? But anyway, and the reason that it's important to look at this case is, it really doesn't have to do with, I always talk about the alpha bank side of the dual mating strategy, or the beta male provider side of dual mating strategy. And, I could say, well, definitely Colin said he wasn't working right now. He definitely wasn't, he was reliant upon Bree, and she was getting stressed out. She was, for whatever reason. She was having mental health problems. And she had tried to commit suicide, I think, twice in the recent months. And, and that was worrying Colin, for his kids' safety too. And she was missing work. She was starting to miss work at the Navy, so she was having issues. And they had to put her on some special program or something, to get her help. But, and sometimes, the human mind or human body or whatever is so complex that it could be a mental health issue, or it could just be she's not good with, sticking with a job, or whatever. She's not disciplined enough to be consistent at work, whatever. I don't know. We don't know. But anyway, but from hearing her talk, she seemed intelligent. He seemed intelligent. They seemed fairly rational, but sometimes you just get caught up in a relationship issue, and you don't know how to get out of it, right? Well, I think that's where they were. They were stuck, right? But it seemed like they were stuck in competition of one another. And I wanted to say, as a lesson, that's dangerous. You first of all, you don't argue with a woman. As a man, you do not argue with women. Now, I think Colin made many missteps, and he ended up, paying with his life here. And I don't want any guys to pay with their life, because this can happen. This is how serious this stuff is. He's not the first and won't be the last, right? And this case really bothered me because, it didn't seem like Colin was doing anything wrong. I kind of was thinking about it, and, he was just kind of like, his wife wanted him to get arrested, but I don't think he did. She was saying he pushed her, but I think she was making that up. Her vagueness on some of her answers to the police, her lack of, willingness to fill out the witness statement or whatever. Her goal was to get rid of him from the house, and that's, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, I was a police officer for 22 years, which used the police department. I'm retired, and worked on the streets making those kind of calls, domestic violence calls, for 19 years, and they're very frustrating because, especially when it's a he said, she said, you don't know who to believe, and you could have grave consequences, like in this case, if you don't see it right. But 9 times out of 10, one of them's lying on the other because they're mad at each other and they want to get back at each other. You just don't know which one it is, right? She said he pushed her and something else. But she had no marks on her. He was asking, like, what was he arguing about? She's like, relationship stuff. Relationship. When you get pushed like that, if that bothers you, what she was saying it did, allegedly, right where it happened, right what was going on. You could, and you could explain it in detail. She was just kind of like, very vague, and again, she wanted him out of the house. She wanted the police to take her problem away so that she could get her kids and run off somewhere. That's what she wanted to do. But she needed that, we kind of call it like that lead time. She needed some lead time, because he wanted the kids, but he wasn't willing to lie, and again, that's, it's not a woman-man thing, but women will, and I want to say, because, and this is not a bad thing. I always say it's not bad. We're not talking bad about women, but, women are prey animals. That's truth. Men are hunters. Women are prey animals. Men's eyes are closer together. Our skin's thicker. Our brows are larger. We're made to fight. Women are not made to fight. They're prey animals. They're the vulnerable animals. So what does that mean? And a lot of the answers to our questions about women can be answered in this one if you know this stuff. Because what is a common trait of a prey animal, it is fear. And when you have fear, you have overreaction, you have emotion, you have instability, you have anxiety, you have they're skittish. Yeah, skittish. They're skittish. They're so, and that's women, So, and if you fuck with them, like a hurt dog or a hurt animal, they're gonna fuck back with you bad, because they don't have the energy or the capital to fight with you, because they're fearful. They know they'll probably lose. They're not as strong, or if they're hurt, like a hurt animal is fearful because, he knows he might lose a fight because he's had an injury. So they're very mean. They want you to go away. That's women. Women are very fearful animals. And a lot of times, fear is manifested into anger, into rage, into, what's the best defense, a good offense, into attacking, into manipulating, into, betrayal, into betraying you, into, and again, this is not saying they're bad. It's just knowing, the rules, right? And it's especially bad, though, when they don't like you. So all these traits I just mentioned will come to bear when they don't like you and they don't respect you, right? And I think this had happened with Bree and Colin. This had happened to them. She had no more respect for him, for whatever reason. And that doesn't mean you're a bad guy. It's just you didn't earn, you command respect, and you did not, and you lost that command of respect. You might have had it, you lost it, and at that point, here come all the fearful animal traits in her, and she gonna take you down. A woman, if she gets those all working together and she's really scared, she's taking you out, and she won't care. She won't care because she cares about herself, And again, I love women. I'm not talking bad about them. I'm just telling men, this is the way it is. You gotta be on point, But that's why you don't want to get in the trenches with them either, because we as men, we know we have like two emotions: angry and happy. It's true though. We do, because God made it that way. When we wanted to solve a problem, we got angry and we fought. And we were done with it. And women have all kinds of emotions to shape shift into the situation they need to be in. So that's why if we argue with a woman, we're just gonna get angry, and we're gonna do dumb stuff, right? When you're angry, you do dumb things. So, but and like I say in my other videos, Bree Cuhnn attracts what she fears in this situation. Okay, so the police come out to their house 3 different times. The first time, and I have to admit, I don't want to go in hard on the police. Now, I know all the laws and stuff. They didn't really have anything to arrest them on. I'll grant them that. Now, the officer could have. I think he did good in using his discretion, because, you don't want to arrest somebody. I think Bree was lying, so the officer, I think, knew that too. Officers are good at BS detectors. I think he knew she was lying. But everyone's gonna second guess him, because she kills him. She kills she kills Colin at the end. And everyone said, well, he should have known. She should have known. The officer should have taken him. And it's kind of true. If the officer would have taken Colin and removed him from the situation on the first call from the police, the first call to the police from Bree, the situation would have been handled. Colin will be alive. Now, I mean, maybe they had problems later, but so, and that's why sometimes, in police world, when I worked, there were times when they really were, if you hear any kind of, and it's not good though, because if you hear any kind of, all a woman has to say is, he touched me somehow. I mean, just like she said, she was pushed. That's all he needs is someone he believes is credible, and that's the victim who alleged she got pushed, and that's probable cause. Now, and the officer will say, well, I have to be able to prove it in court. No, you don't have to. All you got to do is have probable cause to get him to court to face the accusation so that accusation can be adjudicated. Now, I know what he was saying is why you're going to bring a case that can't be won. You're kind of, that's kind of wasting everybody's time. And it's also telling you your probable cause is probably BS, so, but what you can tell from the body cam video, and I probably will do body cam video, I'll probably do an analysis of body cam video, but what you can tell is I see it several times, he didn't have that opportunity, but she seems very overly anxious. I didn't notice it the first time. She seems very scared. She seems almost tripping, like that I watched it. I think she was having some kind of weird mental, but she was also angry, because she felt that Colin was going to take her kid. They've been having marital problems, and Colin wanted to, and I think Colin wanted to take the kids to stick it to her. He wasn't taking them to kidnap them. He's the dad, he was going to bring them back. They were going to be safe, but he wanted to take them to his in-laws and just have a cool-off time between him and Bree, because they just kept going back at each other and over petty crap, and that means your relationship has a problem. And I think Colin wanted to get, just kind of, de-escalate this whole thing. Let's take some time off between both of us, and then let's bring it back together. Now, again, I think, and people can argue with me, but I think that they were both arguing over the kids, basically saying, and they were not divorced, so there's no custody agreement. They're both the parents, and she was saying you can't take them. I mean, they can't even agree about this. I mean, that's what leads to, the fact that they can't agree on one freaking thing is the dysfunction. They can't see it. It's right in front of their face that they're behaving, both of them, immaturely. He wouldn't talk to her. If she was locking him out of the house, he wouldn't. I get it. You don't argue with a woman, but at the same time, guys, I'm going to give you a lesson. Is you got to be making a plan. So the first call comes into the police at noon, right? And Colin's chill. He's sitting in like a fisherman's chair at this garage, and he's like, "Oh, brother," But again, the police could have taken him to jail. I don't know if he knew that or not. I don't know. He seemed pretty confident, And again, I don't want to disparage the dead, in this situation. But I think Colin was being petty. I think that's how Colin liked to argue to a certain degree. He didn't really understand, like, this chick don't like you. There's no sense of arguing. What are you still doing there? What are you still doing in the marriage? This girl was not going to do anything he said, but she had been checking out divorce lawyers. I don't know if it was a couple weeks or months. But prior to this whole dust up between them, she'd already been looking at divorce lawyers. So that tells you she's already pretty much checked out. When a woman checks out, very rare. But if she can do a turnaround, but in 99% of the cases, she's not going to turn around. She's just not. She's done. She's just made her decision. She's ready to go. She just got to pull that trigger, right? And she kind of needs a man. She needs Colin to step up and do that. His life. And here's the thing: the whole thing started over the weekend. I think this is a Monday that this whole thing goes down, but it starts over the weekend over Bree listening to a TV show. I think not a TV show, meaning like a streaming, show. All these shows that people watch. I don't watch the streaming ones, but the only one I did watch was The Wire, and I do recommend that. I've been watched one whatever you want to call it, episode or one show, I guess. It's HBO The Wire. It was, I guess it came out a couple years ago. Man, I got hooked on that. But anyway, it was awesome. So if anyone hasn't seen it, you go binge watch The Wire. It's awesome. But anyway, yeah. So he tells her to turn it down, and apparently she won't, or not to his satisfaction. And again, right away, if you're a man and you get respect, and this person loves you, I mean, think about it. If it's someone in your family you love, your brother, your mom, your dad. I mean, you ask them to turn the TV down, they're gonna do it. I mean, that goes to show you right there. I mean, what are we doing here? Like, you guys are just there to make each other miserable. That's not what marriage is, And that's pretty much what they were doing, And so the fact that she won't turn the TV down since he'd asked nicely, and it was a reasonable request, He then goes and turns off the Wi-Fi. So now she can't watch anything, So it's like, now he's, a tit for tat. And again, that's not good for a man. Don't do that. Okay, so what a man does is, let's say I ask, I'm king daddy, I'm her king, I'm her daddy, I'm her boss, whatever, because I'm the leader of the house. Hey, can you, nice. Hey, babe, turn that show down. I can't hear real well, or whatever. It's a little loud for me. You don't mind? I mean, you could say you don't mind as a guy, but you're really telling her to do it, right? And in a perfect relationship, and one that I believe is capable, she says, yes, daddy, no problem, I'll do it, I'm sorry. Because she cares about you, she desires to keep you happy. A woman that loves you desires to keep you happy as hell. And if she knows you got options, why would you stick around with a shrew? Dude, I'm out. I'm going to get my side piece, let's go. I mean, but anyway, I digress a little bit. But so she does it, and so what a man would do is, now you act. Okay, she hasn't turned it down, so you have options here. You either don't care about it that day and she hasn't listened to you. She's not gonna listen to you about anything at this point. It's time to get a divorce lawyer. I mean, I'm serious. That's how serious that is. But you make a plan. Okay, I'm going to move in with my parents, take some time off, blah, 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 you can't take the kids. I'm not going to argue with her about the kids, not going to get in a fight with her about the kids. And what I always say, figuratively, you have to be able to. How could anybody fight properly in war, right? If they weren't able to burn it all down, if they weren't able to go further than their enemy. You got to be able to go one level crazier than your enemy, right? And women will go crazy, right? Well, as a man, I can't do that for my kids. And a lot of times men use that as cope because they don't want to do a damn thing. They want to sit there and it ain't because they love their kids so much. It's because they too scared to do anything. They too scarcity mindset, and to keep their loser girlfriend. Oh, my kids, I'm off with my kids. So that's like a woman calling a man narcissist, or saying the man cheated. That's why she broke up with him. Well, okay, you can't really argue that she shouldn't have broke up because he cheated. Well, I can't really argue that you're a loser and not leaving because of your kids. But I will think that because I see that as, because here's the thing, if you're unhappy and depressed in a marriage or whatever, then, you're not going to be able to do a good job raising your kids. What I would respect more is getting the hell out of the marriage, getting a good lawyer, getting a great custody deal, making a better life for yourself, be happier. I mean, anybody in a sexless marriage, in a crappy marriage, you ain't thriving, and your kids see it, kids know it. But anyway, so that's where you're at with this petty, turn the TV down. So already he needs to have bells and whistles going up, and this is not the first fight they've had. This, they've been getting pretty bad, according to, Colin, the deceased that day said. But the first call came in at 12:53, right? And they stayed there for like an hour. And then, the cops leave. He said he pretty much can't do anything, but he does give them paperwork so they can make their statement. They can turn their statement in, and I think they could possibly file charges later. So it wasn't like we're not doing anything, but there really was, and I'll be on the cop's side on this, but is that there wasn't anything to arrest on. There wasn't anything for them to do. Like Colin and Bree wanted the police to come in and fix all their marital problems, by, magic wand. And we see that a lot, take him to jail and get him out of here. Dude, y'all got so many problems. The cops can't even they don't even know where to start, right? And that's kind of how, I know how they work, because I was like that. It's like, you don't want to get into, they're like, the kid's this, the kid's that, they can't get into custody issues. They're the police. They don't handle civil stuff. That's civil. They handle criminal. They don't understand that. So, Colin was a father. He has just every right, and they're still married, so he has just as much right as the mom. How could they tell who to take? And now, if they saw, a grave danger on one of the parents, and they didn't. They were both normal, right? At least at that point. So anyway, that cop leaves, and it's now, I think, 2. They call in another call, like 4. That cop comes out. Pretty much the same thing happens. Now, Colin had been locked out of the house. And he got locked out of the house with a 3-year-old daughter. This is how pissed off the mom's getting. She doesn't even care that her 3-year-old daughter's also locked out with the dad. I mean, he's just sitting there. I mean, it wasn't dangerous, but it was hot. He doesn't have keys, didn't have shoes on, I don't think. I mean, it's just nasty. She's being nasty. But as Colin, the husband, he's now got to be thinking, he kept wanting to, fix the situation right there. Get me back in the house, or that's right now. But he needs to be leading this thing, and I always say men leadership. He needed to be leading that thing and trying to fix, like, I need to be making a plan today. This is getting bad. I need to be making a plan today to exit out of this for my kids, me. I can't be getting locked out of houses in the heat, So, he's a couple years behind on his, taking action. Well, now it's like 4, but, Colin ends up getting shot and killed by his wife. And so what I'm going to say is, the first call comes in at like 12:45, whatever. He's dead, I think, at 6 or 7, whatever. Let's just, for argument's sake, 5 or 6 hours, right? But in 5 or 6 hours, 3 police calls to their house, and neither of them had accomplished anything. You know what I'm saying? Colin, they were no closer at 6 when he got shot and killed as they were at 12, which tells me it's kind of both their faults, because, oh man, I gotta get my ball. Anyway, but I'll go over here. But yeah, so, you would think Colin, let's say he didn't have money because he didn't have a job. I mean, his money was wrapped up in her, but they're married. But at this point, she ain't gonna do nothing for him because she's so pissed off at him for whatever reason. And the anger is out of bounds. It's overkill, right? It's over because, there's no rational thought between the two of them. Like, hey, the cops already told you they can't divvy up your kids. Colin's not going to go and kill your kids, and you're not going to go kill the kids. We just need a couple, but they both were so mad at each other, like they do in divorces. I think they were both using, I want to keep the kids, you go somewhere else. I want to keep, that was their fuck you card, And Colin had a couple other things that, why would he, he should have just said, hey, I'm going to go tonight or whatever, and I'll be back, But again, he had no plan. He's getting locked out of the house. He's being the bitch, in the situation. But like I said, and she, I don't know if I said this, but when he turned off the Wi-Fi, she took his laptop. He had to get a Sony Vaio. It's other expensive. He had a newer laptop. He was doing school. She put it in the dishwasher and ran the dishwasher. And I think that ruined it. But that's where we're at with these two, So, rational thought is not winning the day, and the cops, you could see Bree getting more mad and more mad, because she wasn't getting her way, and I'll tell you guys for women, women are scorched earth, hell hath no fear like a woman scorned. And I don't buy in all that, because that gives them too much power. Women are just irrational, emotional, right? And so, they don't want to be wrong. And because they're a fearful animal, the vulnerable sex, they gotta win the fight. Because it takes somebody who's secure. I had a friend of mine who was very secure, and we played soccer together, and you could not give him any criticism because he was insecure about his game. It's like, that's an insecure person. you know. But a secure person, you know, like let's say, you know, Messi, if I were to tell Messi how to play the game, I gotta get the ball. Car. Yeah, go another car. All right, so anyway, but a secure person ends up taking criticism because they realize, you know, it doesn't mean they're a bad person for needing help and, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, but an insecure person or a fearful person, like, you know, that's why they say in sign language, shame, insults, guilt need to be right. Well, this is a need to be right. Bree wanted to be right. I want my kids this lose, and because she's lost respect for Colin, you know, and it does seem like he was doing some passive aggressive stuff, you know, and some little bitch stuff because he's mad. You know, she's disgusted by him at this point, you know? And think about somebody, and that's how women operate. I don't think men can appreciate that about a woman, because that also allows women to just go scorched to earth, you know, which is a good thing. You know, if she's on your team, she can go scorched earth for you, you know. but yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. So you know, again, Colin, and I'm not trying to talk crap about Colin, but the fact that he's staying in a situation that's getting more volatile, you know, and he hasn't come up with any solutions other than he wants to go to his parents' house and he wants to take the kids. And then it's obviously, you know, from watching the videos, the body cams, I mean, that was Bree's biggest contention, you know, was he wants to take my kids. And it was almost as if, you know, there's a hint of, you know, delusion almost, like, you know, like he really was going to kidnap him, like a little bit. I don't know if that was there or that was just her being, I'm going to lean on the fact that was just her being a total bitch. I mean, some women, you know, she was dysregulated, you know, and this is a lesson to be learned too, is, you know, emotional control. You know, we say, you know, men have to have it and women don't have it as much. That's fine. But at the end of the day, you got to have it. Women and men, there's road rages. And, you know, I mean, you know, the Carmelo Anthony situation, that was a, you know, no emotional control. I don't know if you've seen the body cam on that. I mean, you know, it's what I thought it was, you know, and for me, it wasn't race, not at all. It was, you know, it was a dumb fight, you know. Carmelo Anthony looked like a little twerp that was, you know, just entered a tent and didn't want to leave, and he pops him one in the chest. He wasn't attacking him. But anyway, I digress on that. But anyway, so now, you know, I told you that Colin had been locked out of the house, and now he got the daughter back in the house, but I guess he goes outside to fix the garage door, and she locked him out of the house again. But the garage door's not working, so now he's kind of locked in the garage, and he doesn't like it. He's knocked on the door a couple times, and Bree won't open the door, and he's like, screw this, dude. You know, he's like, but again, you know, if it was me, I'm not calling the police on that, or if I did, I'm calling them and then I'm out. You know, because you got to help yourself. You know, you got to take action to make impact on the world. You have to take action. You know, and that was what Colin was missing. You know, like I told you, the first call comes in at 12, and he's dead. You know, 5 hours later, and that was kind of you know, where it really hits you, because you see him alive that day. I mean, he's alive that day, and you realize he's going to die by the end of the day. And he doesn't know this. And again, what I tell men in these relationship spaces is you have to know the signs of disrespect. One of them is not cooperating with you. One of them is arguing with you. One of them is, you know, being petty with you. You know, breaking your stuff. I mean, that is beyond disrespect. That is like total disgust. Total, what's the word? Just, yeah, I mean, she's not, what's the word of disgust? Like, try to think of a more intense word. Just, she is, I don't, whatever. She's passionately disgusted by you, you know? And it almost is when they're mean to you and disrespectful to you, when they're feeling that way, they will see it justifiable because you're a loser. They don't need to give you no respect. you're a freaking loser, you know. But anyway, so he's now locked in the garage, and so he goes to make a phone call to the police and say, hey, I'm locked in the garage, can you come back out here, get me out of here, you know. Well, as he's on the phone call with 911, with everything recorded, you know, he's basically kind of run down a 1-minute story, and he's in the middle of the call, he's like, and I guess Bree, you can hear everything. She comes in and she opens up the garage, and you hear, he's like, you kind of hear him like notice she's come in, but he's sitting on a cooler in the garage, like a Yeti cooler, and he's having a phone call with the police, you know. But Bree didn't like this, you know. I think she got worried that they were actually going to do something this time. Well, anyway, she pops him once, and you can hear the shot on the 911, pow! And he yells out, his last words on this earth were, she shot me. And after he says that, about 5 seconds pass, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then she hits him again 4 times. Pop, 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 pop. I mean, dude, cold-blooded. His kids were there, you know. You know, he's a 4-year-old and 3-year-old that you'd seen on the video earlier, you know. But, you know, and she won, and that's how some women are. You know, they're gonna win. I mean, you gotta understand this, guys. That's why you don't argue with them. What you do is, you see the game board, you know, and you see where your pieces are at, and then you make your moves from there. You don't argue with somebody about, you know, why you're gonna make this move, no, you make the moves. I'm gonna double jump you right here, because I can double jump you, whatever. No, don't double jump. Now you're arguing about double jump, whatever. No, you don't argue. You know, you be a moral, sober, sane citizen, and take action. You know, and no one can tell you what to do. You know, so, as long as you're moral, sane, you know, sober, right? But, you know, what are you going to do? You're gonna, I mean, think about it. I want to take my kids. His kids were not going to die. He was, and now look, he's, both of them. Again, and I'm going to make this point and I'll bring it to a close, but think about it. Bree didn't want to let him take the kids. She's now in jail for life in prison. She got put on, she killed him right there. That, you know, with those 4 shots, and 2 to the lungs and 1 to the heart, 1 out the neck. I mean, he dead, dude. I mean, you know, so now she's never going to see her kids. I mean, this is the irrationality of it all. Like, you weren't wanting your husband to take his kids, have a cool off period for a weekend. We come back and talk about it. No, you'd rather you're doing a whole white weekend for the rest of your life, and Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, no parole. And she deserves every bit of it. I mean, and you know, she did this whole, you know, performative, acted like she was in shock after kids. She was pissed, dude, pissed. You know, and then she, you know, but what are ladies gonna do? Now, we didn't hear about an affair in this one, but she did allege abuse. That's always a go-to for them, you know. But, you know, and again, I've said before, if you're not a woman's hero, you are a zero, you know. So basically, that's what you had. You had basically, you know, college. Oh, and by the way, she said she got raped by him raped that prior Saturday. It's Monday now. She had come up with that one too. Now, first of all, they're married. They have 2 kids. They have consensual sex together. I mean, you know, it's a stretch, you know. And again, and this is what women don't understand. I think about sex and raping and men. Look, I mean, men don't have sex I mean, you know, women have sex to feel good. Men have sex to boost our egos. It doesn't feel that good for us, you know. I mean, it feels a lot better for ladies, you know. So, you know, men may be performative and fake, like it's feeling good, you know, really good for them. But women have a lot better experience. But we feel like $1 million when we can have sex with a woman, because it's a skill to have sex with a woman, you know, to be able to get a woman, because most guys don't, you know. So, but anyway, but yeah, I mean, so you know, going back to the grape thing, that's why we're not gonna grape, because that null and voids our desire to want to be the man. If we're having to put force into this to get it, that means we are a failure, and our ego does not get satisfied by that. So, I mean, and I'm speaking like not a crazy guy who's mentally ill. I'm talking about a husband in a marriage. That would not be a good mating strategy. when he wants to boost his ego, yet he has to use force to do it to his wife. That's where women get mixed up. But anyway, that didn't happen. She made it up. But yeah, I mean, so you have a disturbance, marriage, basically a marriage, you know, 2 military people, good people, 3-year-old, 4-year-old. They don't have a father now. He's dead right there. You know, he didn't plan on dying that day. At the hands of his wife, shot in the back 4 times, you know, because they couldn't work out their differences, you know, because we don't argue, you know. And if you're arguing that bad, and if she's disrespecting you that bad, that's a sign you need to work on a fair, safe resolution to the whole marriage in general. Men need to be leaders, you know, because think about it. And this, I mean, it is a little bit not comical, but I don't know the right word, but he's 14 years in the Marines. He had a traumatic brain injury. That means he deployed probably, and he was in a war zone. But his house was actually the most dangerous war zone because he died in his house. I mean, and that's what people don't understand in these relationships. You're actually in more danger in your house than you are in a war zone. And when you don't do relationships right, when you don't understand disrespect, when you don't understand the game you're in, I mean, once again, this is probably the 40th video, and you know, probably the 20th man that's died. I mean, this is serious stuff. But she got convicted. She got doing life in prison for killing her husband. She admitted to it, but she tried to, you know, come back and say, you know, wife abuse, all that stuff. But you know, it wasn't. But it's a tragic story. All right, boys, we'll see you on the next one.